Danny on the beat, boy.
Welcome to another live episode of Halftime Adjustments. It's your host, Ed Arnell, my man, Mr. J. Lou.
Yes, sir.
G Witt is out tonight, man, but he's supporting us from afar. And so, man, here we are, man. Come on in to the show, fellas, and join us tonight. Get your questions, get your comments in. We got a lot to talk about, J. Lou, man. A lot has happened over the past 24 hours. J. Lou, man, we came into this week thinking, but, maybe they can get some things together. We saw NPF had was practicing more this week. Peter was coming back for another week of strong play. Man, you just thought maybe, they could put some things together. They went across the pond to play the Ravens. I guess, so if you look at the ticket tonight, man, we got some questions down there we want y'all to comment on as we go throughout the show. Get your questions in, get your comments. Says, where do we go now? 6 weeks in, the Titans sit at 2-4, and what changes do you think will happen? So those couple of things. And so, Jay, I'm going to pose some questions to you tonight to start the show off, man. And we'll start with this one. Who do we blame for this 2-4 start? Who takes the blame of this start of this 2023 football team?
So I'm probably gonna be in the minority, but we'll see if the chat agrees with me. But I'm gonna put some of the blame on Vrabel, man. I mean, you get, and before I say that, I'll preface it by saying, if you followed the show all summer long and all off season, you heard us say that the team was about 2 years away based off the failed draft picks from the previous GM. Right. I was even under the impression that we should, roll those tanks on out there and embrace this youth movement. Right. But I get that Vrabel's built different and built a different way, and I respect that. But as the head coach and as let's just call it what it is, as the man in charge of the entire organization behind Amy Adams Strunk, because the GM is technically not your boss. Y'all collaborate. Right. He has to shoulder a lot of this blame. You look around the league and you can't tell me that we have the least talented wide receiver group there is when you got D-Hop and Burks when he's healthy, etc. You can't tell me we have the least talented DBs. Now, I'm not saying they're good, right, but look at some other teams around the leagues and some of the things that's getting out, that's being gotten out of those players. I look at some of these coaches we brought in. Charles London, highly sought after guy, came in to work with quarterbacks, very, very high on the radar of NFL coaches for offensive coordinator, etc. Yep. I think about, I just lost his name, my DB coach.
Chris Harris.
Very highly sought after. To the point where my man was interviewing for DC spots while he took this one. Right. And you mean to tell me these guys are terrible coaches when they come here? I find it hard to believe. I think it all starts with the top. And as I told you in our separate chatter when we've been chatting all weekend, I think Vrabel hires these coaches, and I'll give him his due. When you look at his coaching tree, his branches have went out there. He's turned some guys into head coaches, etc. So he does have that built, but I think he's one of those. He's definitely Belichick. It's his way or no way at all, and I think he's making those coaches conform to that when they come here, and you're seeing it with the product on the field. I believe he's a player's coach, but he's changed since he first got here in 2018 or whenever he came and what he had to deal with that team. And this team doesn't have enough veteran leadership like that one did. When you think of the Delaney's, the
Jarrell Casey,
even Taylor Lewan,
right.
Those that had been through the 2-14s, the 3-13 seasons, and was able to get that change. And I just think that he has to shoulder a lot of this blame because for 2 years now. Because if you listen to the post game after the show yesterday and you listen to his press conference today, the question was put to him: do you think some of these things are fixable? And his answer, no, I don't think what we got right now is fixable. Well, you said the same thing last year about the injuries and the players you had. You was able to go through an entire offseason where, let's just call a spade a spade. You had 100% of control of the players that are on the team, per se. If we listen to the collaboration, at some point in time, it's got to fall back on him. And as I said last, I don't think I think the Titans can lose every single game the rest of this year, and he still is job protected. But I think that seat warms up after this year. I really find it hard to believe, just seeing what Amy has given him. I find it hard to believe that even if they fall off a cliff the rest of the year, and as long as they're competitive per se, I don't think that she'll pull the trigger. But I think that seat has to start warming up because again, she's giving you everything you asked for. Who else is it left to blame? You can only blame the players so much.
Right. And so I agree with you, man. You got to start looking at the head coach and the scheme that he is allowing to be coached on his football team. Now, yeah, Grant, I agree with you. And Eddie Gray said it, made a good point. The O-line is a problem.
Yes.
Right. When Tim Kelly does get inside the 5 and he throws the ball,
he stays in shotgun
and stays in shotgun. That is a problem, right?
Yeah.
And so again, I say you got to lay it on him because of the way the coaches are coaching. It's no. I agree with you, man. It's no way Chris Harris is that bad of a coach when he was highly sought of for a defensive coordinator position. Same as Charles London. He's had success previously in different stops.
Yes.
With quarterbacks, and so for it not to be blamed, not to blame Vrabel is wrong because he's the coach, and so we keep talking about this every week. It seems like why. Again, if the talent in the secondary is not that good, if it's not, I'm just posing the question. If it's not that good, and your guys struggle to play man coverage or even playing zone, why not blitz and make the time shorter for the quarterback? Now, granted, they kept harping on how fast Lamar was getting rid of the ball, 2.72 seconds, something like that. Yeah, that's fine. And that's another point I'm making.
You know what fixes that?
Yeah.
Press coverage.
That's right. Press coverage. Me, hey, I've never coached anything real major, flag football, whatever. But if it's me, I'm going down with the blitz. I'm going down with guns blazing.
Yes.
They are coaching like they don't even want to try to win the game.
No.
So that's to me, that falls extremely onto the head coach. And Rodney says, do we believe that Vrabel has lost the locker room? I don't think he's lost the locker room just yet, but I think so.
Go ahead.
We're gonna talk about this too. Big Jeff,
yeah, because Big Jeff, and then Tart had some cryptic comments on Twitter that he's now deleted his Twitter and stuff, and they keep talking about him and the toe injury and all that. I personally, he might be injured with a toe, but we got to remember Tart is playing on a 1-year contract.
Right.
For those that don't know, Tart's agent is Drew Rosenhaus, who is the real life Jerry Maguire shark. Look him up. He represents all the big ones. It would not surprise me if the injury ain't as bad as we think, because Tart already has proven his worth last week when Indianapolis ran all up over us.
No doubt.
So if I know that I can get the bag and I don't have a bag secured yet right now, and you got me on this 1-year deal, that agent might be whispering, "Hey, let's just if you stub your toe in the morning, we're not playing." And I think that I don't want to say I'm like you. I don't think he's lost the locker room, but I think you got a bunch of players on the team, like you heard Big Jeff say, that don't really care about winning or losing. They just collected a check.
Yeah, those comments were quite telling. He's been getting a lot more vocal
he
this
has.
season. You saw it last year, some toward the end of the year when the wheels had fell off pretty much. And so here's my next question. And I just mentioned that about Lamar, the 2.7 seconds. How does he get that release? How does he get to that point of getting rid of that ball that quick?
It's the play calling.
It's the play calling and the coaching.
So
now, here's my next question. Who's to blame for Malik not progressing in year 2? Is it Malik? Yeah, he's got some responsibility. He does. I agree. But if you go back in the history of this franchise,
they don't develop.
They
QBs.
are notoriously for not developing
outside of Mac 9. Right. What other QB have we had that's really been? I mean, even Marcus Mariota, he had some moments, but everybody, we haven't developed nobody outside of McNair to me, because think about everybody else that was decent was already veterans. Your Kerry Collins that had the 10 and O's or whatever. They were already
Billy
veterans.
Volek,
they were veterans and stuff.
We don't develop nobody.
Right? Yes, we don't develop nobody. And to go back to when we talk about, it goes with coaching. I think it's Vrabel's system. Let's just not forget, 3 years ago, maybe 3 to 4 years ago, 3 years ago, Tim Kelly had Davis Mills looking like an all-pro against us and against everybody for the Texans. And you
Arthur
mean to
Smith
tell
had
Arthur
Tannehill
Smith,
look like
yeah,
all pro.
and you mean to tell me that now we can't? I just find it hard. And
I
again,
know it. I know it.
Malik does. We all knew Malik was a project. I
He
don't
still
think he's
is. He
ready.
still
Yeah, he
is.
still is.
Yeah.
But for him to see how he looked yesterday, that's coaching. Like what you're not, to me. You have to be. And we talk about this all the time. The problem with the Titans is if you look around the league at everybody else, we don't scheme to our players' ability. There's no way
Facts.
there's no way
Facts.
right now, and this is where it goes to coaching and being stubborn.
Right.
If you should automatically in your playbook have a playbook designed for Malik's skill set if he has to come in because he's your backup QB.
Right.
There's no reason you should still be trying to run your same pass patterns and all that Tannehill would run with Malik in the game when you know he's not capable of doing that. And again, that falls back on the coaching.
Yeah, and I nobody get me wrong. I'm not saying Malik is a great talent. I'm not saying it at all. I'm not saying he's bad.
Right,
He's
right.
not ready. He's a project, like you said. We said that last year when they drafted him. And so and Darius is hit me on my next point already. This is the J-Rob effect in full effect.
Yeah.
We might as well admit it, right?
Yes.
This team, the talent shortage on this team. You go back to the draft picks that he hardly has any draft picks left on this team from his tenure, right? The free agent signings have been horrible. And I mean, and there's no cap space. No, there wasn't any cap space, right? And so next year that'll be changed. So, there's the free agent class next season is probably going to be better than it was this past year. But again, you only got 5 to 6 draft picks.
5. You got a
3 7-rounders.
Yeah, 3 7-rounders, a first, a second and maybe a fourth.
Yeah,
okay, fifth. Yeah.
And so that's all you got.
Yep.
And so this is my opinion. It's gonna take a couple years to get this thing turned around.
Yeah, Rodney said it. He said we're looking at a 2-year rebuild. And again, this is why I've been harping on it all season long when folks thought I was crazy on here when I said trade Byard, trade Henry. I'm not throwing away the season, but I wasn't trying to throw away the season, but you've got to embrace the youth movement soon. And what better way to do it now when if you could have freed that up and got more draft picks for those. And again, the trade deadline is, I think, Halloween.
It's right out,
so it's coming up.
Yeah.
So some of that still might be in play. I doubt it, but still might be in play. But you could have loaded up some more draft picks. You've got the cap room next year, and then you allow your chance to see if one of these quarterbacks can pan out. And if they can't, hey, worst case scenario, you're drafting a quarterback for the 3rd time in 3 seasons, and you might strike gold on that one. But
you might strike gold.
But continuing to hold on to who we've held on to and being in the cap purgatory that we were in, it's time for Titans fans to embrace. We're going to see a rough rebuild for the next 2 years. Now, again, I will say this. Vrabel, I think, is still a good enough coach to keep you competitive, and you play in the AFC South that on any given Sunday, anybody can win that division. So that helps you. But I think it's time to really fully embrace the youth movement.
Right. Rodney makes a good point. He says we don't zero in on other teams' weaknesses like the teams focus on ours. I agree with you, man. Again, that's coaching. That's coaching, right? If you got to contain Lamar, right? Yeah. But if you give him different looks, you saw yesterday, he can get erratic with that ball, that interception. He overthrows his receiver, right? And so that coming into the game, although, yeah, he's playing probably better than he has as far as throwing the ball in the last couple of seasons. But, you can get after him. If you put a little pressure on him, he tends to get a little sideways with his techniques. And so, it's it's just so funny, man. And so I guess my last question before we start breaking down the game, man, it's time for Levis.
Yeah.
It's time for Levis. Now, Tannehill, they say today he's got the same, Verbal says same injury from last year. High ankle sprain.
Yeah.
Is it the same foot?
Yes, it's the exact same one he had the surgery on.
He had the surgery on, right? And so now we don't know the extent of how bad it is because they'll never tell us, right? But you got a bye week, and then you come back and you got the Falcons at home. It's time for Levis. From what I saw, Malik, he's not the backup guy. anymore to me.
Not-
So what do you got to lose, right?
At this point, what do you have to lose? I mean, at least you know that I don't think that. And again, uh, Levis is a rookie, so you're gonna get the rookie mistakes. But at least I don't think you're gonna have the issue with him holding on to the ball. If anything, you just
He
got to
gonna force it.
Yeah, he gonna force it. You got to deal with
right,
the interceptions,
right,
and
right.
that's all you want. Like Malik, if you go back and look at a couple of the replays from some of his plays yesterday, he doesn't understand what NFL open is, because there was a couple times that these receivers were open and he just still was not letting the ball go. So I think you have to make that change, because you could see the frustration on the receiver's face. Just give them an opportunity to catch the ball, and he's not doing it. Offensive line or not, he's got to have an opportunity to throw the ball.
Yes, yeah, so just some more comments says. So Ryder says Vrabel needs to stop promoting from within. I appreciate that, man. Eddie Gray said you won't get the fair compensation, can't trade these guys. You right. You probably won't get what deserves it. Go ahead.
It depends on what you classify as fair compensation. You're not gonna get 2 first rounds for Henry like you did with CMC. But if you can get 3rd round draft picks for any of those guys I named, a couple 3rd rounders here or there, that's how you build depth. Yeah. You know, you got to hit your 1st and 2nd rounders are your starters day one. Your 3rd through 7th, that's how you build the depth. And if you look at our team right now, we're filled with a bunch of backup players. Like, we signed a bunch of players in the offseason who were backups last year, and we're wanting them to be starters this year.
Yeah, and that's because of the cap situation in most cases, right? And then the people that were out there that could be a starter, they were too much money.
Too much money.
And so he said, Nathan said Tim Kelly can't get it done in the red zone. He who should not be named did, which was true.
If you listen to what they said, Tim Kelly was the red zone person last year.
I know it. I was about to say that. Last year he was the red zone.
That's what makes it so puzzling about the red
crazy.
Zone this year is the person who was in charge of coordinating the red zone offense last year is the coordinator this year, and you can't score.
Eddie Gray say we ain't being fair, man. We gotta give him a chance to fail. Malik is afraid to fail because he has a short lease. There's no time in the draft.
I like Malik. Malik to me,
too.
Malik to me is Vince Young 2.0. Vince Young would have been successful had he not been with Jeff Fisher in my eyes when he first came out, because I think there was some conflict there.
I agree.
I feel like Malik's in the same situation. I don't think that Vrabel wanted Malik, and I think that you got Vrabel playing Jeff Fisher and Malik being Vince Young again, that he's not going to give him a chance to fail and be successful. Well, I think you cut ties, let him go somewhere where he might have a chance to really develop so young. And again, Vrabel wanted Will Levis because you were in charge of the draft this year, and go from there. So, Eddie Gray, I get what you're saying, but I think part of Malik being afraid to fail is because I feel like it's a situation that, for those that's been around, remember Vince Young and Jeff Fisher, and that was just set up to fail from the beginning.
And that's and you mentioned, we talk all the time outside of the show about the Titans and football, and that's the point I was making yesterday. Is you get him with another coach that will invest the time to develop him, and I think he'll be a quality quarterback. Yes, I really do. He's got some tools that need to be refined. He's got a nice arm. Right, he's got the sidearm ball. He can run. He's a good, stout young quarterback. He just needs some time to develop. That's all it is.
That's it.
That's all it is. And so I just, again, and Nathan said he agrees. He's destined to fail with the way this franchise is set up. And this is so funny because we've changed personnel in the front office, right? We've changed some things, but it's still the same.
Same thing. It's still the same. There's no difference. I mean, watching the Titans the last couple of weeks reminds you of Jeff Fisher ball.
It does.
I mean, the
field goals.
Our field goal kicker has not missed a kick, knock on wood, which is great, but he shouldn't be leading the team in scoring like that.
He shouldn't. He should not be leading the score. It's so funny, man. It's so funny. All right, so let's break the game down, Jay Lou, man, because we got some things there that kind of strange that went on. I'm gonna say strange. I'm gonna say missed opportunities as well, because there was a lot of missed opportunities that could have really changed the outcome of this game. Because the game was really close, although the offense only has 66 yards in the first half. mind-boggling to me that you can only get 66 yards as an NFL offense in the first half. But yeah, tell me, man, some things that stood out to you about the offense yesterday.
I I continue to. I don't understand why Gibson. Oh, you said offense. I'm sorry. I was
Yeah,
no
yeah.
defense.
No, you good. Yeah,
Offense.
yeah.
So offense. I was glad to see that they finally pulled the trigger on MPF. Now again, if
Man.
you look at the tape and you look at PFF and all that, they both played terrible at left tackle. That was MPF's first game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm willing to
tackle.
get a left tackle. He ain't done it since college. And I'm willing to give him an opportunity as opposed to Dillard, somebody you paid. So I was good to see them make that move. And again, if you go back and look at that touchdown run that Derrick Henry scored,
That was a
just
big hole.
look at the left side between MPF and Peter on that block. And that's what you hope that you can get from the future from that. I think, and again, I'm gonna give some positives because there was some positives.
Yeah, it was some
I
positive.
think you're starting to see now. I hope the concussion is okay with him, but I think you're finally starting to see. It was. I remember on the show we talked about Wiley during the preseason. He had the drops and had to get used to. I think you're starting to see him figure out the NFL. Like he's making some big plays. Truth be told, he's taking some snaps away from Chig and playing better. I'm just gonna be honest. Call it spade a spade. And it was good to see Chig catch the ball yesterday. I thought Tannehill. I understand why he does it, but I thought he was trying to force the ball again.
Yes.
Too much of DeAndre Hopkins.
Yes.
And Tannehill still has and I've seen Ken Lou put it in the chat earlier about Vet making same mistakes he shouldn't. I think Tannehill still is going through his first read and dead set on throwing it. Go back and look at the play that he threw the interception on. Now, I don't care if you couldn't get no air on it or not because you injured. Both of your running backs was the 2-yard check down.
Wide
open. They can walk 2 yards, and you just had it set in your mind that you were going deep, knowing that you couldn't throw it deep. So, and I'll say this as well. I thought Aaron Brewer played well against that D line yesterday. I tell you who got his lunch ate was Brunskill.
Brunskill had probably his worst game yesterday. He had his
worst game yesterday. But I thought you saw the athleticism from Brewer yesterday, especially on a lot. I mean, we ran 3 or 4 toss plays straight out of the shotgun, and you seen them pulling. So there was some good things to come. But I just, for the life of me, we still continue to be run, pass, run, pass, and then we don't do enough. We don't do enough play action. There's Derrick Henry. 11 carries for 30 yards, you take away the long one, but I don't think you utilized him enough. And again, I get that Spears is the change of pace back, etc. And again, if you want to do that, again, think about where Rand came from. They have a CMC. Spears is what we won't see. Is CMC is Spears. That's what we want to see Spears be. And then you have somebody to spell him. And if you're gonna make that change, you've got to just fully embrace it. But until you're not set up that way right now to do that, and I think you get more out of it by keeping both of them on the field at the same time. I don't care who the offensive coordinator is. I'm tired of seeing Derrick Henry come off the field on 3rd and 3rd or shorter.
I understand. Yeah, Ken Lou makes a good comment, man. Appreciate you joining the show tonight, brother. He says he'd rather see Cousins Willis making mistakes at the young stage rather than the vet making the same mistakes. That's a great point. Will says, y'all mentioned striking goal. This franchise can't strike goal even when they're digging in the silver mine. Shout out to Key Lottie, man, for her birthday. Happy birthday, Key Lottie. I saw you.
Birthday.
Happy birthday to you. Eddie Gray says receivers can't get open. And you saw the bunch yesterday. They had a hard time getting open. The offense has no fight. And so I'm gonna go to that point that Eddie Gray just made. Receivers can't get open. Why? Because the Ravens run a lot of press coverage.
Why you think Marlon Humphrey? I love him. I'll take the 3 pass interference. He's up in somebody's face every single time.
Right. Exactly. Now, again, Christian Fulton and Marlon Humphreys, no, not saying that. But I believe if you put Christian Fulton in the press, he might get beat. But you're gonna get a rush time to get to him.
That's what I was going to say. You're knocking the receiver off their route, and you're gonna give your rush an opportunity to get there.
Nelson Aguilar, how many times has he burned people here recently? Right? That's what I'm saying, man. Yeah. We make these guys household names. You go back to last year, we played the Raiders. Collins, he's a rookie. He got paid this year by the Falcons.
Yep. Yeah.
So again, it's the coaching, man. It's the coaching. Right? It says, do we believe that Henry or Byron will be gone after this season? I think Henry will be gone.
Henry's
To be
well,
honest,
his contract's up.
yeah, I don't think they
I don't
signed him
think they
back.
signed him. Bayard, you can move him and be okay on the cap hit. But when you say after this year, do you mean after the season, or do you
After the
mean
season,
when they make it through the season? Because
yeah, after the season.
I still think you might see a trade before the trade deadline, and
That's what I'm afraid of. I
I'm
think
only
so.
give you three. There's only four candidates that you can trade. And when I say trade, I think if we see a trade, and the people are like, "Don't trade Henry," da da da. I think you will see a trade similar to what Carolina did last year, where they took care of Christian McCaffrey. They knew that they were in a rebuilding stage. Hey, let's give you an opportunity to go get a ring. They traded him to a contender. So I think you would see these gentlemen be traded to a contender. But I only think you got four people you can trade. That's Bayard, that's Henry, that's Danico, and that's D-Hop. I think those are the only four veterans that are trade worthy as far as going to a contender. I don't see the Titans, never say never, but I find it hard to see them unloading them on somebody who's not going to contend just to load up on picks, take a horrible one. I think they would do right by the player, especially knowing Vrabel and Rand.
Yeah. So just looking at some of the stats from the game yesterday, 1 for 9 for this offense in third down efficiency. They were 0 for 8 until Malik got in the game.
To the fourth quarter.
Yeah,
it was until the fourth quarter.
Yeah, 46 total plays for the game. I mean, that's just ridiculous. And the Ravens had 70 for their offense. 233 yards of total offense, 104 passing, 12 of 21, 6 sacks. Of course, most of those came against Malik. 129 rushing and 6 penalties. And so that's another thing, J. Lou. And I said missed opportunities. You go back, you get into a third and long because you line up in the wrong. You have a illegal formation after Derrick Henry gets in the wildcat and he runs for 14 yards.
Yeah.
On 3rd and 1. But now you have 3rd and 6, so you kind of put yourself behind the sticks, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, like you said, Tannehill forces the ball to Chig, and to me, and I could have been wrong, it looked like they was playing cover 4 because you had a cornerback that was running deep quarter on his side. You had a safety right over the top. He just undercut the route when he saw
that's what I was going to say. When I saw the all 22 today, and that's exactly what happened. And again, it's because the safety read Tannehill because as soon as he snapped the ball, he stayed that way on Chig the entire time. And that one, again, all turnovers are terrible, but that one was back-breaking because you had the momentum.
Right. Momentum.
You were going down where a touchdown at that time would have tied. No,
it would have took the lead because it was 18 to 13.
Yeah, 18-13.
And we had just forced them to punt.
Yep.
And the momentum has swung, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he throws a pick.
And then
they
go. And again, that goes back to play calling.
That's
3rd and 2.
Right.
And again, I know, people gonna say, well, if they run the ball, don't get it, y'all. Yeah. If they run it, in worst case scenario, you're 4th and 1. And then you might go for it then, because again, you could have been so creative with both of those guys in the backfield with the read. Now, again, this is where I say coaching. And I said it, I might have texted to y'all, texted to my brother doing the thing. Tannehill should have never came back in after he got hurt, because you could tell he couldn't move.
Yeah.
And so that, I mean, again, that I think about that 3rd and 2 right there. That could have been an option if he has an ankle to be able to move on. But he was like anybody could see he was a sitting duck, and they were pinning those ears back. And I think that was coaching malpractice to allow him to keep. And again, they spatted him up and taped him up, but you could tell that he couldn't move, and you should have just pulled the trigger a little sooner.
Right. And they get down in the red zone after the turnover, right? Ends up getting a field goal. But Tannehill forces the ball twice to D-Hop, right? And so, again, why?
Well, you're being nice.
I know.
The refs bailed him out on one.
He did. It's illegal contact.
Illegal contact. And the second one, he definitely was like, well, you're not giving y'all that one, because you're not even giving D-Hop a chance to catch the ball in the end zone. You airmailed them both to the crowd. But again, that's just play calling, man.
Yeah. And so, the offense is what it is at this point. And, and I agree the offensive line is not the best. So yesterday, one other thing I want to mention about the offensive line, and we'll start looking at the defense. But You saw Hubbard struggle yesterday.
Yes.
Him and Brunskill struggled. Their right side struggled yesterday a lot. And so,
So I read something today that the Titans through 6 games, 3 of the 5 offensive spots grade out worse in pass protection than they did last year. And we thought last year's line was trash.
Yeah, we thought last year's line was trash. I mean,
but again, it goes back to what I think it was Rodney or somebody. I want to give the right person credit who said, "Stop promoting within." You literally you fired offensive line coach and just promoted a younger guy on the staff to be
that was he was with the tight ends last year.
Yeah,
right?
he was like, yes.
No experience coaching offensive line. I mean, again, you gotta look at Vrabes, right? You gotta look at Vrabes. And so for the game, 8 of 16 for Tannehill, 76 yards, interception, 2 sacks. Willis 4 for 5, 74 yards, 4 sacks. Derrick Henry 12 carries, 97 yards. Of course, the long with the 63-yard run. Spears led receiving yards with 1 for 48. And so, J. Lou, let's look over the defense, man, because I actually thought the defense played well enough to win yesterday. Now, they were not efficient in third down. They couldn't get off the field on third down. The Ravens were 8 of 16 yesterday, 50%. 221 yards passing, 139 yards rushing. And Lamar Jackson did some Lamar Jackson things yesterday on the defense. And I go back to what I said as we started the show. The scheme that Bowen is running is not working. I don't know what it's going to take for Vrabel to recognize that what they're doing is not working. I mean, I understand playing the bend don't break defense. I get that. But man, when it comes down to it, that you need to make a play. He always talks about, he harps on them not creating turnovers. Why is that?
Yeah. I mean,
because you're not playing aggressive.
You ain't playing aggressive. Yeah, you try to create turnovers once you get in the red zone. And that ain't how it should be. I watched part of Cleveland yesterday, and of course I watched the 49ers and the Jets last night. I didn't see none of those defenses bending but don't break. they are aggressive from the get-go.
And who were the Jets playing? The Eagles, one of the best teams in the league.
One of the best
Cleveland playing the best team in the league. So, right.
Be aggressive. Be aggressive with your defense. I thought the defense played well. Of course, they tired out. I'll be honest. There were several times that we've got to stop stunning on the front four. There were several times that I saw Harold Landry and Arden Key, who I'm just going to point out, Arden Key he was a preseason hype. Because he isn't impacting as much as I thought. If you look out there a lot yesterday, they're only putting him on pass rushing plays more as well. So I don't think they're playing Gibson enough. Gibson was third. He was second on the team with 2 pressures, and he only had 6 snaps yesterday. Yeah. Give him a little bit more go. I think you're starting to see Harold Landry finally, come around from the. I thought he played well, outside of the fact that we decided to put him on Zay Flowers and man to man. Well, they claim it was zone. He came in his zone, but I'm coming in Harold Landry's zone off of ACL if I'm Zay Flowers. So it goes back to what you just said about the scheme. And I guess our scheme is take your best pass rusher and put him in coverage. And let's see how that works out.
Right. Will, I was just about to say that, man. You let Clowney get 2 sacks.
2 sacks.
Clowney, the most sacks in the season that Clowney has ever had was 7.
Yeah,
in the season, 2. And he got 2 yesterday.
He was clowning.
It's Clowney of all people.
But yeah, I thought the defense. I thought Big Jeff. He's just got to stay composed. He got need.
Yeah.
And if you look at it, I saw it was one of the comments earlier said nobody on our offense went and popped dude for knocking out Chris Moore, which is great. I agree with that because I think Taylor Lewan and Ben Jones would have jacked up somebody. You didn't see that from our offense, but on the flip side, you didn't see nobody get in Big Jeff's face when he did that because they knew what Odell Beckham had done. But again, I'll tell you this. I think Byard, and he said it himself, I think he's pressing too much. I think they all are pressing too much because there was a few times where he's just missing tackles that he should not be missing.
Yeah, out of position, overrun. I saw that too, and I was like, man, that is uncharacteristic for him to be so much out of position
Yes.
coming up on the tackle. Eddie Gray says, man, as much as he hates to say it, but the Steelers of the 90s and the early 2000s, Bus, Kevin Green, Greg Lloyd were great because they paired the two styles well. You're right.
Yep.
You're
Yeah.
right. You're right. They paired the two styles well. They had a dominant run game. They had a aggressive defense, and they had a quarterback that could manage the game, right? And they had receivers that would catch the ball, get open. Rodney says Gibson could be a diamond if they unleash him. So
100%
Gibson,
agree.
yes,
100% agree.
yes. I mean, he was in the backfield a lot,
And
but he got to
again,
play.
I think this is one of those where I'm gonna harp back on Vrabel. This is I'm on Vrabel this week. I'm on him.
Gotta be. It's gotta be.
This is one where what Gibson, the knock on him is he don't play the run well. That's his knock.
Right.
That's why he ain't getting as much playing time. Right. Think about what Vrabel said. We always want to stop the run first. So because you got somebody who can rush the passer, let's just be honest. Nobody's really trying to run on the Titans because for the most part, until last week, you hadn't been able to be run on. They mostly passing on you because they know your DBs are trash. Why not leave Gibson out there a little bit more to rush the quarterback? He's definitely rushing better than the free agent pickup of Arden Key you picked up.
Exactly. So I mean, he deserves an opportunity to be in more pass rush situations. And so, like I said, the defense I thought played well enough to win yesterday, but getting off the field on third down has got to be a must, especially when your offense is struggling. And so, what about this, Jay Lou? You saw Trey Everett came in yesterday and replaced Christian Fulton some yesterday. Just like on the offensive side of the ball, you saw Dillon get benched at halftime, and it actually said a coach's decision, so that means you got benched, right?
Yeah.
And so a message sent to Christian Fulton, right?
Definitely. And again, he went back and forth, and I thought that again, as Vrabel again with his slick way of giving comments back, as he said in the post game today, he was like Fulton wasn't challenged like he was against the Colts, which is 100% right. But I thought he responded well, and I actually thought Christian Fulton did some good open field tackling.
I thought yesterday was probably his best game he's had in a few weeks.
Yes, hands down.
And being challenged like you about to lose your position, that usually brings that out. But you would think though, man, in a contract year, he'd be playing his best football.
But I'm gonna agree with Rodney. Fulton don't want to be here. I think he don't want to be here for the same reason that I said Malik Willis shouldn't be here. Mm-hmm. When you have a coach, some players can't take getting called out the way Vrabel calls them out. He's slick with it. I mean,
he's so slick.
We heard about the repeat offenders in the offseason.
He was one of them.
Christian has a hamstring. You called him out in the offseason because he wasn't here for mini camps or something. So I think that's boiled over. And when you know that your head coach probably is saying all the things in the media, but really don't want you here, I think that's part of it. Because I really think that when Christian Fulton leaves next year, I think we see somebody get him, and we'll be looking up in 2 or 3 years and be like, man, why he couldn't do that for the Titans?
Yeah, and that is, again, that's the J-Rob effect, right? J-Rob, at the time when he was in power, he didn't consult Vrabes as much on player personnel. And so now you see Vrabel, the guy, you could tell the guys he don't want on the team.
Yeah.
You can tell.
You can tell.
He's like, yeah, right. Right. And you can tell, man. And you actually almost got to watch that same mentality towards Traylon Burks. I'm just saying. Because J-Rob got rid of his boy, AJ.
His boy.
And so now he's like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So Eddie Gray said he watches a lot of soccer, man, and the philosophy has to pair well with attacking. We just don't have that continuity as far as attacking on both sides. The defensive philosophy has a pair well to the offense. Yeah, I agree too, man. You have to have that. How do you not coach to win a football game? Not coach aggressively. And maybe Vrabel, and I'm not giving no pass, but maybe he just don't have confidence that they can pick up a 4th and 1. He just want to kick a field goal. I don't know, man. Something's not gelling for me.
Yeah, something ain't. I mean, You just want to you're hoping that you can just drag every team to the mud with you and you figure it out in the fourth quarter and
That's Fisher.
that's Fisher 3.0. We've lived this. So
Oh my gosh.
and I think that's what has us as a fan base confused.
I know
Because
it.
just 3 years ago you were not that way.
No,
And that just goes to show, okay, you handpicked your staff. You're the coach. You picked the staff.
he did.
LaFleur was you picked him, and he competed with you to get the head coaching job. He left after a season. Then you let Artie Smith just run it. After him, I don't feel like you've let any of them have their own hands. This is not the same Tim Kelly offense that we saw the Houston Texans run.
No,
it's not. And
No,
I
it's
think
not.
a lot of that has to go to your point where he's just something has variable spook, but he's like, let's just keep it close and hope for the best in the fourth quarter.
yeah, and that's not gonna win a lot of games.
Nope.
And so let's look at the special teams real quick, man. Another solid day for Nick Folk, 3 for 3. He's hit it's like 70 in a row, something like that. Inside of 40, inside of 40 yards. Yeah. And then Stonehouse again, not a bad day, 57 for the long. So let me ask you this, J. Lou, and I hadn't gone back to look at it just yet. On that punt that he overkicked to coverage, was Crushake out there as a gunner?
I thought it was
Garrard
and
I didn't think Crushake.
I didn't think it was Crushake. I don't think it was Crushake.
But
Stonehouse,
blocking the back. Yeah, but blocking the back right there in front. Yeah, they didn't call it. But anyway.
But Stonehouse, and I literally thought, because I'm almost positive the announcer, it might have been Kurt Warner, had said up there, that's going to be a flag. They didn't call it, but you have to give Stonehouse credit for his hustle on that play. Not only did he catch up with the returner, he took a different angle. He changed angles while catching him to knock him out of bounds. And he saved 4 points. I mean, he saved 4 points that you should have been able to win had you not have the gaff on the other side and you continue to stick Phillips back there.
Oh my gosh.
Your punt returner.
Eddie Gray teed it up for us. What's our opinion? What's your opinion? Go ahead. Give me your opinion and I'll give mine.
Phillips should not have ever been the punt returner after last year when I think he's tried to return 6 in his career and muff 3. Stop putting him back there. Let him be what he's designed to be. Just your slot, third down receiver, move the chains. Because I think he's pressing and thinking too much. I really think after the bye, Kearis Jackson should be available after from IR. I think that's your punt returner. But I don't. And again, that's coaching. Because the only thing you do in that situation is you send all 11 to block it.
That's what I'm saying, man. That's coaching. Why would you even let him attempt to catch that ball?
Yeah,
the clock's gonna run out.
Yes, it's going to run out. You're going to the halftime.
My stance was, hey, Kyle, stand on the 10. If it goes over your head, don't even go for it. Even if it comes to you, just let it go. Just get out of the way.
Get out the way. Or just go up there and try to rush. Worst case scenario, we run into the kicker.
Right.
That was just stupid.
Oh my Lord. I was just like, that's just typical of this football team.
Of this football team.
It's just typical, man, how things are happening. It's so weird. You know, after 6 games going to the bye, who would have thought at this point we'd have been 2-4? Now, we knew the offense is going to struggle early on, but man, not to this point. Right, we are week 6, outside of those first 4 games that we thought was the preseason for the offense, really, because they hadn't really played together. And I mean, it's still, you got 2 straight losses. You're not averaging. I don't even know what the point average is right now, but it's not a whole bunch.
I think it's like 18.
Yeah, it's 18. You're right. And so, because it's 18 actually, right on the number. 18 points that you're averaging, and they're on pace to be worse than they were last year, as far as that goes. And so, looking at the AFC South standings, man, you got the Jaguars at 4-2, the Colts at 3-3 with a loss to the Jags yesterday. The Jags have won 3 straight. Houston won yesterday. They beat the Saints 20-13, moved to 3-3, and the Titans in at 2-4. I mean, just looking at the AFC South, man, it's coming into the season, I wouldn't have said this, but it's gonna be tough for them to win a division at this point. They don't have a lot of room for error right now. And so you got to see what's coming out of the bye. Are they going to make an attempt to get this thing righted, or are we going to see, tank for Caleb.
Right.
Right.
I mean, and so I look at the AFC South and I just think about Houston. I feel like we have a more talented roster probably than Houston.
I agree with you.
More talented roster. But Houston has better coaching.
They
I think
do.
their head coach, who is a defensive coordinator from the 49ers, I think he's got. We all said he'd had that defense flying around.
And
You
they
can
are.
see he got his fingerprints on them dogs. He stays out of the offensive way. Houston Texans, poor the quarterback.
Uh, Stroud.
Chris Stroud, yeah, CJ Stroud. He's missing 3 offensive linemen, and yet look at what he's doing with that team as a rookie quarterback.
Pep Hamilton.
Pep Hamilton, and again, I think that's because you see a defensive minded coach who's like, "Hey, offense coordinator, that's you. Go score for me. I'll make sure you get the ball back on defense." And Vrabel, I feel like he just wants to have his hands. He don't have his hands in everything, but he does, because again, it's his way or no way, and this is what we're gonna run, and that's not the way to go.
Yeah, I'm not giving up on him, man. I agree with you. We're just 2 games out, but there needs to be some changes coming out of the bye. Yeah, Kenzie was playing better than Phillips as far as in the return game.
Yes.
Yeah. And so, I don't know, man. We'll see. Ada Gray says not Cable Penix, man. You know what's funny, Ada Gray, is me and Michael Penix's father. We played college football together, so I'm very familiar with little Michael. He was actually up at the school with us when we was there for like the last part of our time there. So yeah, man, I'm in with you with Michael. He got that left-handed ball, man. He's accurate, pinpoint.
Yes.
Yeah, 2 games out. It's still a lot of football left, but I mean, if there's something's got to be done.
Something's got to change. I mean, and again, you made it through the gauntlet. The scheduling gurus did you no favors, because you have the longest stretch between home games. Now, again, this technically counted as a home game in London, but when you talk about Nashville, you play at home October 29th, and then you don't come home again until right after Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
right after Thanksgiving. And then, so
Right.
you've got 11 games left. 6 of them are at home. You got 5 division games left. You have a winnable schedule, but it's winnable only if some things change. And again, I'm not going to sit up here and say that I don't think even a QB change wouldn't still make you be competitive, because I think that buys you something different than what you're getting right now. You got to find a way to move the ball and put up points, and so you've got to keep your defense fresh.
Yeah.
And no defense in the NFL should be getting 60, 70 plays a week put on them and stand on the field. You're just going to run them down.
Yeah, Eddie Gray, you're right, man. That back shoulder fade, man, was nasty. But yeah, I agree with you, man. And like I said, I'm not giving up on Malik. He's just not being coached correctly.
Yeah.
And so you play Levis, right? You do know he's gonna throw the football. If anything, he's gonna try to stretch the field. He's gonna force the ball. He's gonna throw some interceptions. So those are growing pains for a rookie quarterback, and it's gonna happen. But at least we know he'll get rid of the football. At least we think he will, anyway. About his past experience that he's shown that he will throw the football. He can move a little bit. So we'll see how long Tannehill's out. Where they go from here as far as that number 2 quarterback. And it's going to be pretty interesting. I'm curious to see what Vrabel's going to do. Chris Moore in the starting line. He's the only cat threat. Yeah, and it's funny that Chris Moore is the deep threat guy. I wouldn't imagine that he was that fast. I didn't think he was that fast at Houston. Maybe he was just deceptively fast, but he gets open down the field.
And again, that's why you have to hope that Burks has whatever's going on in his head and injury-wise, he's fine. I personally think that he rushed back because to what you said earlier about him knowing that the head coach probably secretly talked about your injuries, etc. And I don't know if the knee was quite where it needed to be. So it's telling that they didn't put him on IR. They just let him get the games, let him get him this way. IR, he could be around the team or whatnot. You're hoping he comes back, and he is we've seen him be a deep threat as well. And that's why, again, I say I think you put Levis in because he's going to at least give you that attempt. Levis is a tough guy. You saw it with him in Kentucky. I mean, he took some shots, etc. You need somebody back there that's not going to be hesitant to let the ball go. And right now, I've seen it in Malik. We saw it in what 6 games last year. You saw it in 6 games last year. He didn't look the same yesterday that he did in the preseason. I'll chalk that up as you came in, but you always hear that the backup quarterback, you always got to be ready. So again, and the Ravens, to me, they didn't start. I didn't really see no extra blitzes in that. I think he just got he got in his way, and he still just didn't understand. He's just too hesitant to let go of the ball. So again, that's why I think you have Levis in that to give these receivers, as much as we say the receivers aren't getting open, you got to remember what NFL open is, and you've got DeAndre Hopkins out there who you just give him half a yard of separation to give him opportunity to catch the ball. He's gonna do one of two things. He's gonna catch it, or he's gonna do like we saw yesterday, get 3 pass interference calls against him.
right. Yeah, and yeah, we'll see what happens, man. It's gonna be quite interesting. One thing that really tells the tale for me, and I'm not, like I said, I think Malik would be a good quarterback if he got the right coaching. But here's coaching malpractice. That you don't stress to him that we need to save the time, right? And you call a run play.
Oh my gosh.
You call a run play when you're down there around the 5-yard line and you need a touchdown to try to draw within 3 points and kick onside kick. You run a run play, no timeouts. And instead of him go out of bounds, and you probably should say, hey, get out of bounds if you get near the sideline so we can save some clock. And he's in bounds, and
he stays in bounds. He tries to cut back in. He tries to cut back in.
Yeah, the play call was bad. First off,
play call was trash.
But you gotta have that discussion too in the head. Say, like, hey man, you got to get out of bounds. Get out of bounds.
Nah, it's
so yeah. Yeah. He needs to have confidence. I agree with you, Ed. He needs to have some confidence. He needs to be put in. Again, that's coaching. He needs to be put in some situations to where he could succeed.
I agree with everything Eddie Gray is saying about the Levis fail and Malik should have a chance to fail, etc. The only caveat I'm giving to that is I think it's Vrabel. I think all that's out the window. The man's confidence got shot when you brought Josh Dobbs in here, and then you had to hit his whole fan base cry that they didn't sign Josh Dobbs back because we got a lot of UT fans that mirror as Titans fans, which is just crazy. That's why they don't like. That's why half of them don't like Will Levis as is, because he went to Kentucky. But I think that his confidence, to your point, Eddie, that's why I really think, and again, I'm talking from seeing, and you said it earlier, from seeing what happened with VY, I don't want the same thing to happen for Malik, because I think Malik can be a great quarterback. I just don't think he's going to be a great quarterback with the Titans as long as Vrabel's here, because Vrabel has already shot that confidence, and I don't think there's a chance of rebuilding that.
Yeah, and like we said earlier in the show, he's gonna get these J-Rob guys out because they're not the guys that he picked.
Exactly.
Right. He didn't agree with those picks. And so yeah, man. Thank y'all for joining us tonight for another episode of Halftime Adjustments. A lot of comments, a lot of questions, man. Appreciate the love, support of the show, man. Continue to support us and watch us. If you sign in on YouTube, man, if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you know when we coming on live.
Yes.
J. Lou, man, we got a bye week coming up, man, and we'll see what happens, man. We'll see what happens coming out. I didn't see an update on Chris Moore. I'm sure he's in the concussion protocol.
So they both flew back. So the bye week might be perfect for them. They both are in a concussion protocol, but the fact that they were allowed to fly back on that long flight is a good sign that everything was well. They didn't have to hold them over there.
Yeah. And so, again, man, thank y'all for supporting the show for another episode of Halftime Adjustments. It's Eddie down there. It's J. Lou, man. Check us out. We'll be back. We'll take a little bye week ourselves, and we'll come back ready for that Falcons game. The Oilers throwback night.
Yeah,
throwback game. And hopefully we'll see y'all there. He was saying, Will was like, he was looking forward to hearing us yesterday. Man, yeah, I know the timing didn't work out. I was traveling, and J. Lou was had some business going on, and it'd have been G-Wit by itself. He could have done it, but he wanted to be with the fellas, and so then tonight he couldn't make it with us. But shout out to G-Wit, man. We'll catch him next week, and the next time we come back, to be the bye week next week, so we'll take a bye week. We'll be off, but we'll be back to talk about the Steelers games, man. And appreciate y'all, man. Appreciate you, Eddie Gray, and all y'all that commented tonight, man. But thank you for joining us tonight. Eddie out there, J. Lou, excuse me, Halftime Adjustments, man. We out of here.